Hi, it's Nick Astor with TriplePundit.com. I'm here at the Fortune Brainstorm Green 2013 conference. I'm joined by Darren Beck.
Yep.
He is the Director of Environmental Initiatives at Sprint. We've already had a bunch of good conversations with the company today.
Good.
And now, we were talking earlier, and I always associate lithium-ion batteries as the typical issue for cell phones, but you're telling me that the company uses lead acid for something? What's that all about?
Right, lead acid battery. So it ends up that was a bit of a learning experience for us as well. We were contacted maybe about 2 years ago from the Institute for Public and Environmental Affairs out of China about a website that Sprint's name had appeared on as a customer of lead acid batteries. And they'd run afoul of some issues with lead emissions there with the facility, and so they asked us about it to see, indeed, are we buying batteries from them? Comes to find out that actually we were buying from the parent company, but actually from a facility in the U.S., which was good news for us, certainly along the way, but began bringing to mind just how many batteries Sprint uses, and how much the telecommunications industry uses as a whole.
And these are being used not in the phones.
Not in the phones. In fact, it's backup power for the network and for our data centers. As of last year, Sprint used at least 300,000 lead acid batteries as backup power on its network.
And this is why I can make a phone call during a blackout.
That's right. So just in case the power goes down on the grid at any given time, you've got a certain level of redundancy we've built into the system to ensure that people are making their calls and sending their texts and being able to serve. You bet.
Makes sense. And my understanding is that you need lead acid for that because it's more durable. It's the only one that holds the right power. You've given us an idea of how many they are. Now, why is lead acid a problem?
Yeah, I think lead is one of those things we found over time, which is a key environmental issue that society recognizes, right? We pulled it out of our gas, we've pulled it out of our paints and all the rest. And I guess you need to make sure that anytime you are handling lead in the manufacturing process, upstream and then downstream when you're going about dismantling it for recycling, that all the proper precautions are taking place. So I guess the reason we're talking today is that Sprint's been the first wireless carrier here in the U.S. to actually state moving forward that with all of the folks who are recycling batteries for us, as we pull those off of our network, that we're making sure that's happening in the U.S. because today the U.S. through the EPA, they've done an excellent job, has set up some of the best criteria for going about the dismantling process and the smelting process in a way that's not only environmentally friendly but safe for the other folks who have those occupations to go along with them. Unfortunately, a good number of the batteries that are being disposed in the U.S. actually make it south of the border today to Mexico. And what you find there is you find laxer regulations. You'll find that lead emissions for facilities, recycling facilities in Mexico can be typically up to 20 times higher than what you see in the U.S. And with that, we're more than prepared to at some point in the future go back to recycling in Mexico or look outside the U.S. But what we've said publicly now is that we're waiting for those governments to bring their regulations up to parity with the U.S. And until that time, we're going to go ahead and stick with keeping the batteries here. And that's something that, again, the majority of our batteries were going to the U.S. to begin with. We're now diving into our supply chain. It's one of our biggest supply chain initiatives so far, and we are either reminding our recyclers today who are decommissioning, there are about 24 of them that take care of that for us off of our network, reminding them that either states that the recycling can be done in the U.S. today in their contract, and if it didn't already, one by one we're going through and we're putting contract amendments in place or even putting new contracts in place where the old contracts had expired.
And so how far have we progressed so far? Are we at the point where we know that 100% of these things are being dealt with properly, or are we progressing? What's the situation?
That's a good question. So moving forward, yes, we feel very comfortable that we're going to have 100% taken care of in the U.S. Now we just need to get it down on paper and make sure that they're following through contractually so we have the ability to audit them to that over time. On the front end, too, we've been doing a lot more research going up the supply chain to figure out who it is we're even buying these batteries from in the first place. Where are they being manufactured? And so later on this year, you'll see us come out with a full life cycle policy around not only the creation of those batteries and what standards and expectations we're going to hold those manufacturers to, as well as something, and that matches in what we've done already on the backside for recycling as well.
Good, because it's not just about disposing of them, it's about the entire manufacturing
That's
process,
exactly
where this
it.
stuff is coming from, and so on and so forth.
And that's something that's hidden to most buyers. In fact, the reason that the NGOs we're working with, including OK International or Occupational International here in the U.S., they came to the telecom companies first is because we're such huge buyers and we're not necessarily buying it directly from the manufacturers. For instance, our first tier suppliers are Alcatel-Lucent, Ericsson, Samsung on our network, and they're out buying from manufacturers as well. And even those manufacturers are buying lead components from somebody else upstream. We went through and surveyed them to find out just where where the batteries are being made, what kind of notices for environmental non-compliance they've received, and what course of action they're taking with it so far. So that'll be an ongoing discussion we have with those suppliers over the next few years in terms of just making sure that they're taking the proper steps to continue to address the issues that have been brought to their attention.
Darren, thanks for your time. It's good to know that you guys have taken a pretty thorough approach to this.
Great, I appreciate it, Nick.
Thanks.
Thank you.